All right, Mega said, do you have anything on your mind, current WoW stuff, or just in general that's been eating you up, or that you think is interesting or cool?
We could have the player housing conversation.
Let's do it.
All right, it's episode 49 of the PoddyC. This week, player housing, horrific visions, a car, all coming to World of Warcraft in the next couple of years. The timeline is actually, it's unclear what's happening after winter. We don't know exactly what's happening after that, but there's a bunch of cool stuff in that roadmap image. A couple of hints, like the seasons turning kind of green at the end. People are thinking that means Legion Remix.
Ooh.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. That could be a nice little
could be a good expansion to Remix. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Sorry, I'm hearing something going off in my house. We might need to cut this out.
All right.
Sorry. Continue. All right.
Cool.
So we're talking about potentially Legion Remix.
Remix potentially.
I need to pull that up. I didn't actually see.
I'll share the roadmap. Hang on. Whoa, there it is. Okay.
That is
yeah, you see how it turns green towards the
winter?
winter?
I didn't notice that at all. Yeah, it's Well, okay, well that would kind of imply that also that the expansion is like super sped up, right?
So there's a couple of different things that could be happening, right? Like this is only a 2025 roadmap. There could still be stuff in winter that is not announced yet, right? That's like just off the cutoff there into 2026, right?
Maybe,
so like,
yeah. When
there could be, for instance, a season 4 and a patch or something that come out in that time, and that's about when the Dragonflight season 4 came out. There could be a season 4 that isn't like a season 4 in the sense that the last two expansions have had one. Like there could just be a season 4 with a new zone, new raid, everything.
When did when did season 4 Dragonflight come out? What time of the year?
I want to say like
half
April?
a year from now, right? Or before.
So when was 10.2? What was 10.2? Was that Amirdrasil?
Yeah, Amirdrasil. We were in. It was like November, right?
Yeah. So this is already like super sped up, right?
So yeah, season 3 is going to be ahead of where season 3 was in Dragonflight
by like
2
4
years
months.
ago.
By 4 months or so, or 3 months.
So options include midnight in early 2026.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. Like I don't know why, but like okay, it's not really that like 16-month tinfoil because they were like we want to have this all done by 2030 and people started doing math and stuff. I noticed with Diablo 4 they did like an expansion recently and it was like a year after Diablo 4 came out, and I think it was part of their goal maybe to have like just faster expansion for probably just like a big corporate more sales thing. But I just had like a hunch they would try to, if there's anything a money person at Blizzard would do, would be like, hey, could we speed up these expansion cycles at all? And I don't know, they're already kind of only doing 3 real patches in expansion, and they've been doing this like 4th patch, which has been hit or miss, you know, for a couple. And I wonder if they're just like, okay, let's just like cut that out, and even if it's not fully ready, let's just like release a new expansion and then just start doing that. I could see them trying to convince themselves into that, so I kind of have a hunch that they'll do that.
Yeah, I think that's definitely possible. I do think it's possible that there'd be a season 4, either the bad kind or the good kind.
Well,
in the next year as well.
Well, speaking of this roadmap here, remember what they said that one time? They said if you're ever going to get player housing, you're going to have to lose a raid tier. I think is that an exact quote, or was that like a community thing? I think someone said something like that.
I don't remember the quote. I think it was like a question of like, would you give up a raid tier for player housing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I kind of remember that too.
So do we think we've lost a raid tier for player housing, and if so, where is it?
It could have been the previous tiers added up too, right? I'm talking like the season 4 from Dragonflight.
Oh yeah, actually that kind of adds up. That's about how early they start working on things, so that makes sense.
I think it's also just true that there's not that trade-off doesn't have to exist for any reason, right? Like
yeah, other than the quote, it doesn't.
Right.
Like for example, do you think? And I'm actually going to be interviewing a few fight designers soon on my stream. Do you think that those people are the people working on player housing? I think the answer is absolutely not, right?
I suspect very little overlap. Yeah, like
Probably the artists, I
Right.
imagine, are very involved in both, but specifically I think there's probably not a lot of crossover.
yeah, like maybe a little bit of people that do like profession-y stuff would design whatever systems are around collecting your furniture or whatever that looks like. But
Well, but why would they have said, would you guys give up a raid tier for this?
Okay,
I
can we
think it
get an
should-
exact quote? Because I think we need some I don't think we can get it right now on the podcast. It's probably too down deep.
Yeah, we need FRONK to figure this out.
yeah,
Let's all search for it, and we can cut all this out
Okay.
in a minute if we can't find
do
it.
we
But
know
literally
when it
just
was?
quick little Google search. No, I'm just gonna like start Googling.
Ian Hazacostas on player housing and archaeology. Game director Ian Hazacostas talked to Hazel. Oh my god.
Did you
Oh
find
my
it?
god. I think I found it. Yeah, let
Oh man.
me share this thing. Bang.
Ooh.
Okay. Player housing is something. So this is a post from April 22nd, 2022.
Oh, so it's super recent. I thought this may have been like 6 years ago and super outdated, but this is,
Nah.
if I'm
it
not
was-
wrong, this is right around when they actually would have started working on this, given like time frames of release and stuff. If it's coming out in 2026, then maybe it's a year or two after this, but okay.
Player housing is something many of us would want ourselves. Putting together any package for an expansion is a mix of what thematically suits the expansion. Blah, blah, blah. Player housing is a big one. It's one of the things to do right. It's a big undertaking. If we were to do it, it'd probably have to span multiple expansions. It's a large enough feature in terms of just the art. Back in WoD, there were just 2 types of garrisons, blah, blah, blah. It's very time-consuming and would cost us, for example, a raid tier.
Okay, so they never really. Oh no, I mean they
Yeah,
they
Would
did
cost
they
us,
They
for
set up straight
example, a
up.
raid tier.
it is very time consuming and would cost us, just in case you're wondering, a raid tier. Okay, well where'd the raid tier go? That's what I'm saying.
Well, there's a missing raid tier in 2023 that happened after this interview, but before now.
I mean,
could
is
be
it
that one.
Maybe, but like there already wasn't like that 4th raid in Shadowlands, so I just kind of assumed the Dragonflight one was just like, this is what we do now. There just aren't 4 raids in expansion anymore, or 4 tiers, I guess. Raids
Yeah.
is a good way to look at it.
Imagine if they just launch Midnight and they're like, "Yep, there's no raid."
That would be insane.
That would go
Yeah,
crazy.
there's
Awesome.
no way. Remember this?
Or if it
player
would've just made it
housing?
up.
Remember that player housing you guys wanted? That's that. Go raid your house.
You guys think people would be mad or would they be pogged out?
If what?
If we lost a
uh,
raid tier for player housing, like if that situation actually came to pass.
Yeah. Like, I wonder how
Uh,
people would receive player housing.
I mean, obviously, like we would be catatonically sad,
Yeah.
but I wonder if you could. I wonder what the like mass player base would feel about
That's
it.
a really good point. I think there are a lot of casuals that I'm kind of guessing here, but like they like logging in and just like knowing what the raid is, experiencing it, maybe going through it. They're not doing it for a challenge, but it's just something they expect. It's part of a patch. But also, I imagine a large portion of those people would really like player housing, and
Yeah.
those two things are probably not equal. I don't know. If they had to do that, I mean, Blizzard already kind of made that decision, right? They said, for example, this would cost us a raid tier, and then they did it. So they're kind of saying we think that the majority of people would be okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, I suspect that well executed player housing would do much more for the game than one raid tier would. Like,
I suspect
But
that
obviously
it's
it's not
made
for
up.
us.
100.
Yeah.
I don't think that's close. Yeah,
yeah,
people in
It's
MMOs
made
love
up.
player housing,
but
Do
I
you guys
doubt that
like
it'll
player-
actually cost a raid tier.
Yeah, what do you guys
Yeah,
think about player
or it's
housing?
just like maybe the whole faded nonsense that's been going on. Maybe that's all just the reason. And we know from like the first one that there was an unbelievably low amount of people working on that. And more importantly, the really time-consuming stuff at Blizzard is the art. That's what takes forever to create these massive raids and these zones and everything. That takes forever. Something that Season 4 does is it's giving you some kind of a refresh of gameplay, but it's actually not introducing any new art. And if I remember correctly, like actually none, right? So those people could have used those entire, what would have been raid tiers to purely work on this housing thing. So it is possible that Faded actually was the solution to that, and that's how we didn't lose a raid tier, which that's another question. Was that worth it? And I
Yes,
think
100%.
100% yes, yeah.
yeah. Much as I didn't have fun during the faded season in Dragonflight, like if it makes good player housing, that's the thing. Though, it has to be good player housing, right? Like when we say player housing, there is a wide range of things this could mean, from like WoD garrisons up to and past Final Fantasy and Elder Scrolls Online player housing, and if it's like better than those or as good as those games.
I need to get familiar with like what to expect from player housing, because from what I can tell, Final Fantasy is actually pretty good, but it really sucks because no one can have one.
Yes,
So
it's kind of like houses in the real world.
yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah.
it's quite similar to that, and I'm not sure if it's because I imagine in WoW that would be a colossal error. In
Yeah.
fact, I don't think they would do that. I think that's more just like Final Fantasy's like base thing that it's built off of is kind of, and it's also console, so there's probably some limitations there, but. Yeah, that would be bad if it was like the Final Fantasy version. Well, how does the guild? Was it Guild Wars 2 or Elder Scrolls?
Elder Scrolls Online.
Scrolls.
What
There's
is
just
that
like there's a bunch of different houses in the different cities, and you can just have one, and you have your own like instance version of it if you buy it, and then you decorate it with stuff. And
okay.
yeah, there's not like supply constraints, but a lot of them are like microtransaction houses, I think.
Yeah, it's
Did any
pretty
of you
cool. There's a
guys-
bunch of tools in there too. What do you say?
Did anyone play WildStar's housing
Yeah.
at all?
Oh my god, WildStar
Yeah.
housing was so good.
It was
That
so
one
good.
was good.
Yeah,
Dude,
I
that
think we talked
game
about
was
this
just
last
good.
week. Yeah.
the game was just good.
Yeah.
Wait, was that on the bonus epi or the Reggie epi?
I think it was the Reggie epi maybe, because that was when Megaset brought up player housing presciently.
Oh, okay. Speaking of which, you guys should be listening to the bonus episodes on the Poddy Patron. So, first of all, Dorki, are you excited for housing? Are you gonna have a little house? You a house guy?
So
What's your house
I think
gonna
it'll
have?
be either really good or really bad. I feel like there's not going to be an in between for player housing. It's going to be like, you know, a complete disappointment, or it's going to be like super fucking sick. I feel like
Really?
you can't really do, yeah, because I mean, like, how do you really make player house? I feel like if the player housing is just whatever, then it's kind of a disappointment, right? But if it's
Definitely.
really good, kind of like WildStar or Final Fantasy,
You don't
or
think there's
whatever,
an
then it's gonna
in-between,
be a
though?
hit. It'd
You don't
be
think
really
there's
hard.
like you don't think there's room for it to be like enough housing to have customization and people log in to play, which is probably the goal, and then not the best housing of all time? I feel like there's probably.
Well, but then that'd be pretty good, right? That'd be like really good.
do you think
but,
it'll be like most WoW things, maybe, where it just takes 2 years to be good? Like literally everything they've released
Maybe.
I mean,
recently?
that would be fine with housing though, because it's not an expansion locked thing, right? Like that's presumably, if they don't screw it up, an evergreen thing, right? Like,
Yeah, it should be.
I do agree with Dorki, though, that I think it is one of those things that's such a hallmark of MMOs that can't be a wow, it takes 2 years to get right and people will come back and experience it kind of thing. It's kind of like it has to be there right away or it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
yeah.
For me, I would have personally preferred guild housing. I think guild housing is like way cooler. It's like something your whole community
You
can
could-
kind of.
You could certainly add that to this, right? That I don't
You
think
can, yeah,
We have no specifics yet, right? Like,
yeah. We don't know.
maybe
So
it
it-
is.
I mean, that would be sick. I think like Final Fantasy lets you have either guild or player housing, right?
If you can get one, yeah.
Yeah.
Dorki, what's going to be in your house, buddy?
Dude, I want like M plus teleport portals. I
Oh.
want, you know, maybe
Oh, that'd
kind
be
of like
sick.
crafting station where you can like craft stuff and do craft orders or whatever. It's kind of just like your own little hub, right? I also want
So-
like jump puzzles. I think those would be cool.
Yeah, jump puzzles.
Wow.
That's what I did in WildStar. My house in WildStar was a massive jump puzzle of bricks and cheese. That was it. It was
So there is some debate about whether there should be utility in your house at all.
great. Oh yeah, I've heard that.
Why
Because the issue with garrisons, that from Blizzard's perspective, was like, oh, during WoD, instead of this game feeling like an MMO, literally everybody was cooped up in their own garrison. They didn't ever see any other players because they were just in their garrison because it had all the stuff they needed. And similarly, I think if you had that with player housing in WoW, like if you had your auction house and your craft benches, like why are you ever going to Dornagal or whatever the new hub is? And then Dornagal is empty, or when you do go to visit it, it's empty, and you're now spending most of your time not there, right? So like, it's tough. They have a tightrope to walk between, because I think that, especially given that they've sold, you know, auction house mounts and stuff, I think there should be auction houses in your house for sure. But then again, if there is, we run the risk of everybody just always being in their house. And if that's like, then it stops feeling like an MMO, right?
Well, I mean, the way I see it is, it's kind of been that way for a long time. Like, not necessarily, like, yeah, people are still in Dornagal or in, whatever the hell the Dragonflight city was called.
Valdrakken, yeah.
Valdrakken, yeah. But I would much prefer it if Blizzard gave incentive to actually be out in the open world rather than make it so like, oh, like everyone's like still in a hub. Because being in Dornagal or being in Valdrakken isn't really that different from just being in your player house, at least in my opinion. Especially with like how sharding works nowadays. Because it's not like you're really interacting with people within Valdrakken.
I think there's something to like seeing
they're just
people
there.
around.
They're just there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when you
Like-
go to Dornagal right now, you're gonna see a bunch of people, and I feel like if the alternative of that is everyone's in their own shard, and every time you went to Dornagal, you just saw a bunch of NPCs, I think that would just change the feel of playing this game for a lot of people.
Yeah. It's tight balance to walk. I mean, obviously there's all the logistics as well of like how many different places can we put our house? How much are we deciding what like the architecture of it versus just decorating the inside? A lot of huge question marks for how this is going to feel, but I'm pretty excited for it. Like, I think WoW has such a vast history of the game now with all these different aesthetics, and
Oh yeah,
if you
infinite options, right?
like if you just make it so that all these old legacy raids are dropping furniture recipes, and like every profession is making different furniture pieces and stuff, and like or the bosses are like just dropping them straight up as well, or like house designs or something for different schematics for how it can look if they don't want to just let us fully design it. Yeah, like that.
I haven't thought about it like that. I kind of just assumed
it's huge possibilities, right?
Oh yeah, I kind of just looked at it like, oh, there's like this little. There's probably gonna be some store items. People will get real mad about that. Then there's gonna be some like. I didn't think about like going and actually getting items from playing the game, which is really smart and like certainly what they'll do, right? That sounds really cool.
Yeah, like because like I like going and collecting stuff, but the problem in WoW is that the thing you collect is Mog, and like I've collected the Mogs that I want the most, right? Now I don't have any reason to go just rent. Like I'm not enough of a completionist that I just want to fill the tab all the way out. But if there was a bunch of like furniture and stuff, that would be pretty appealing to me to go and do all these random old things and new things as well, right? Like AOTC Cutting Edge can have a cool trophy or whatever of the boss's head. That go crazy.
Yeah, that would be cool. I want to be able to create an orc barracks kind of
Yeah.
like a Warcraft 3, the one with like all the spikes and stuff. That'd be cool.
I think it would be sweet if you could have a bunch of different fantasies for what your house looks like and then actually realize them rather than just because the garrisons really were there was just the two looks, right? And
Yeah.
your options were like there were a few building choices you had, and then also like where you put your building, but that really wasn't much of anything.
Yeah, I was wondering that because I was trying to remember. Did they market garrisons as player housing?
I don't think explicitly. I don't remember though. I didn't play very much during that time frame.
Because every time I've heard people talk about player housing in the last 4 or 5 years, they're like, they're just going to do garrisons again. I'm like, did they say they were making garrisons player housing last time? And I don't know if that was ever actually what I don't know if the community was like, this is what this is, or Blizzard was like, and it's here, player housing, and then they gave you garrisons, right? I don't know if that's how that went down, because garrisons. If this turned out anything like garrisons, it would be a huge failure, right?
Yeah, surely.
Yeah. The way I see it is a lot of WoW players just haven't actually experienced player housing from like other games, so they probably assumed player housing equals garrison. At least the ones who are vocal about it, the ones who are talking about how
that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, because
WoW players are notorious for that.
Yeah, like they just haven't really seen the other side of the coin yet. Like if they actually saw what player housing is, they would not equate garrisons to that.
Yeah. So outside of player housing, we're all super hyped about that. That's sick. Some other stuff on the actually, just maybe before I bring us anywhere, is there anything else on the roadmap that stuck out to you guys and you were like, that's cool, that looks sick?
There's next patch. We've got the you get a car, and also there's a raid that is like you raid the Galagio, which is Gallywix's casino. That's so sick. I'm looking forward. Like I think the theme of that raid is shaping up to be an all-timer. Like if they've got the theme pillar of a good raid, if they can land the execution of the boss fights.
Oh my god, the like,
oh man,
the pictures of the boss fight. It looks like there was like some battle bots looking boss fights, like a mechanized Grong versus a mechanized Thok was kind of like pitched as a boss, and just like fighting Gallywix. All of the design of that casino just looked so insane. hopefully, if you, any of the one who's watching the podcast, I think we're gonna try to pull up some pictures here as we're talking about it.
Yeah.
But like that undermine zone looks really cool. The fact that you're getting a car in this game that you can drift with, and oh yeah, some of the stills from the raid. Oh yeah, there's the Galagio.
Like, dude.
Is that all they have?
Yeah, this is all the pictures.
Darn,
at least from
there's
this
way cooler
Liberation of
pictures from the
Undermine.
video, but yeah,
There's yeah. I will say, I think Liberation of Undermine I don't like. I wish it was just like named like
the
I don't know.
Galagio.
Yeah,
The
Or, like,
Galagio would be insane.
the Galagio heist. Oh man, could you imagine if we were heisting this casino?
Wait, so why are we even doing this? What's the lore? Dranos, you know?
Gallywix has to die.
Yeah, Gallywix was the Bobby Kotick representing character, and now that Kotick is finally out, we can do away with Gallywix as well.
How does this tie with the war within?
So
It's
they
kinda just like-
unknown. How does Zalatath tie in? I think we don't know for sure. Z's.
Okay.
Do we know when Zalatath is going to be a boss, by the way? Random? Is that like midnight or the last one?
I would imagine probably like End of the World Soul Saga or something.
So, yeah, there's on the roadmap. We know that season 3 is going to have. They actually updated this image, by the way. It didn't say new zone initially. Now it says new zone for season 3 as well in the 11.2 one, and a new raid and stuff there. I wouldn't be surprised if we fought Zalatath but didn't win.
Oh,
Like,
interesting. Have they done that before?
I don't think so.
Kind
but
of.
I think that'd be
there's
sick.
Archimond, right? Where you like, or kill Jaden. I mean, like you kind of win, and then they kind of just like come back later.
yeah, but I wouldn't be surprised if this was like an explicit like we battle with her and then she escapes and then we fight her again in Last Titan or something, and she's like midnight is her enacting her plan or something.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I think that would be cool. I think that would line up with them trying, because I feel like they're trying to set her up as both a multi-expansion villain, but she is like the Zalatath's affixes I think are supposed to be for this expansion. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
What do you guys think about the car?
It's
What is it
so
supposed to
cool.
be? Do we know more about it?
It's like basically just the car is to ground mounts what dragon riding was to flying mounts, where it
Correct.
just like it goes faster, but you have to like drive it instead of just
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
WASD.
Yeah,
But I mean,
and
would that mean we don't have dragon riding down there?
I would imagine
I
the
assume
answer
so.
has to be yes. Like in this specific
Yeah.
new zone, you will not be able to fly until X amount of time or some achievement is gotten. But your initial interaction with the zone will be not on a flying mount. And low key, I don't hate that. I know like they couldn't do this for a while because they introduced dragon riding kind of as a solution to that. And I think it made them make zones bigger and you could interact with the zone in different ways. But I think now what they'll probably do is make it so it's easily traversable in your new whip, and you will just be flying around the zone. And I think flying would probably take away from that. I think it wouldn't make a lot of sense to introduce this brand new, really cool car, but it's like dragon riding is slightly better, so no one interacts with it. I think they want you to be flying. I think they want everyone flying around in their cars, which will be, I think, honestly, really sick. Like, it sounds really fun.
Yeah. Are you guys excited for the drive boss in the raid?
Wait, I didn't think about that. That's 100% going to happen. There's
Yeah.
going to be, and you know what? I'm not even scared of it, because the last time we said they were going to make a dragon riding boss, they did, and it was like one of the best bosses of all time. So, like at least certainly design wise, I know it was a bit harder than some people would have liked, but I'm not scared of that now. And it does sound cool because and we didn't show any of the pictures on the podcast here because Wowhead did not take very good still images of that video. But there is like a really cool like battle bots looking boss arena, and I think you could absolutely do it in there.
Yeah,
Yeah, that sounds
I'm super hyped for this raid. Like, again, we don't know anything about the stuff that I mostly care about, right? Which is how good the fights are, how good the class
stinks.
balance is
The
next
name
to
the
it.
name kind of stinks. I think you're right
Yeah.
with that.
But
Like
it's,
Battle of
not the
Desire
end
lore
of the world.
vibes, kind of.
Yeah.
I'm like very interested in seeing what the dungeon's gonna be, because this is the first time they've released a mid expansion dungeon.
I was just gonna bring that up.
Yeah, since like Legion, I want to say.
Well, we had Operation Mechagon.
Well, I mean, like aside from
No,
mega dungeons.
Mega dungeons,
Like,
yeah.
like
So,
just-
so,
oh,
just
okay,
normal
small
dungeon.
dungeon.
so
yeah,
if you
yeah.
remove Dottie, Tazavesh, Karazhan, and Mechagon, there has not been a new singular dungeon made throughout an expansion for a couple years. And I think people have been waiting for it because in Legion, it was kind of, even though those dungeons were hard, they had an extra issue of them being the only new dungeons. Therefore, they were by default harder than everything else because you've been doing the other ones for 2 years, right? So they were like, okay, we shouldn't do this anymore. They specifically referenced that in an interview. They were like, this is why we haven't been making them. Okay, well, now you get new dungeons every season anyway, so this is the perfect time to do that, right? They've kind of answered in interviews like, yeah, you know what? We should do that. And they did that before Dragonflight, and they didn't do it. It looks like they're doing it now, and they're doing it in the next patch, but it doesn't look like we're getting a mega dungeon, though. Unless I'm misreading the roadmap. Is that what you guys gathered? It looks like we're getting 2 individual dungeons this expansion, but we're not getting a mega dungeon.
Yeah, they didn't mention anything about mega dungeon, but I mean, there's still a possibility of it.
When did the mega dungeon come out in previous expansions? Was it
or
it was in 11.2? No, it was in 11.1.5.
No. Yeah. It was the one before that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
it was.
Yeah. So it came out. Yeah, it came out in 10.1, and then it became M+ in 10.2.
I think
Which
it came out.
Crucially, this time it's going to be M+ right away.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's going to be M+ as soon as it gets released, except it is just one dungeon instead of 2 parts of a mega dungeon in the Mythic Plus. But I'm actually going to go back and look. I want to find the 2024 roadmap, and I want to see if they announced the mega dungeon beforehand, because it wasn't actually in 10.1, right? It was in 10.1.5, the mega dungeon.
Yeah.
So it looks very clear that that's not coming in 11.1.5. So maybe it's like a different timetable, unless Nightfall is a mega dungeon, but that sounds like they would probably label it as such. But
I'm pretty sure they called them mega dungeons on the roadmap before, so I guess there's only been one on the roadmap.
dude,
but yeah,
I'm so dumb. I just Googled 2024 and that's it. I didn't Google anything else, and I expected to get the World of Warcraft roadmap from that. That's beautiful.
I'm pretty sure it came out in 2023 anyways, so you wouldn't. It would be on, and I don't think there was there a roadmap in 2023?
There was a roadmap.
should've
Oh
been.
yeah, there was. I think.
Well, I'm looking at a roadmap in 2024, but you're right, it was already out, wasn't it? Okay, Warcraft 2023 roadmap.
And then yeah, there is also a new dungeon in season 3, which is cool. That's gonna be sick.
Okay, I have the thing. Yep. Okay, so in patch 10.1.5. Oh wait, I can share my screen. We have this crazy. Actually, I don't even need to. I can just describe it. In patch 10.1.5, just like the 2025 roadmap, it says we are just getting a mega dungeon. It doesn't mention the name. It just says mega dungeon. So now, that's my only real critique of this. Is they've been doing at least what I've wanted them to do for a while, which is let's just, every patch comes out, we should just get a new dungeon every patch. They're doing that for the first time ever. But it looks like it came at the cost of a mega dungeon in the middle of the expansion, which equals a net same, right, amount of total
same
Mythic
amount of
Plus
bosses.
dungeons added, right? Well, not, I mean, bosses, like just, you used to get 2 halves of a mega dungeon as each Mythic Plus dungeons. So you're getting 2 new War Within Mythic Plus dungeons made in expansion. That has also been true for every other expansion. They were just mega dungeon halves, and I don't know if that's necessarily like is good or bad that it is a specific dungeon. Like some of the mega dungeons have been some of the best Mythic Plus dungeons of all time, right?
It feels like the mega
best one.
dungeons are like made with a different kind of quality in mind, right? Where they're like more story driven and more nuanced, and they have weirder mechanics and bosses and stuff. And
Definitely has more story. It's like a raid almost. I feel
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
there's
there's supposed to
story
be a
in it.
mini raid. That's all. I was
which,
gonna say.
but it seems like Operation Floodgate kind of maybe meets that bar, even though it's not technically a mega dungeon. Like, I don't know. I mean, obviously we haven't seen it yet, but it's got like a
I could see that. Like it's
So, like-
it's more invested than maybe the other 8 Dragonflight.
yeah, it's like a mini mega dungeon instead of a dungeon.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
could be good.
I don't know.
It was a little just, I saw that and I was like, dude, this is awesome. This is exactly what Mythic Plus needs. And then I saw they removed the mega dungeon and I'm like, this is exactly the same as it was. But maybe
I will say the fact that it comes straight into M Plus is a huge dub for me. Like
Yeah, I was gonna say that too.
I hated the like, oh, there's a new mega dungeon, it's super cool. Play it on M0 for 6 months and then it'll be an M Plus next season. Like that was such a
Not
bummer.
even. Just play for like 1 week or 2, and
Yeah,
kinda
play it
just,
on
like, not
M0
gonna
and then
do it
and then ignore it for 6 months and then it's
Yeah.
an M Plus the next season. Whereas this time it's just going to be straight into M Plus. Like obviously there's balancing concerns. Obviously there's it could be super overtuned or undertuned or whatever. Probably overtuned or buggy or something. But I think that's a obviously, like if I knew for sure that it was going to be buggy, I'd rather not. But like, it's a risk worth taking, I think, to just get it in our hands when it's still exciting, rather than, you know, after it's kind of old news.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it'll be better than having it as a mega dungeon. I mean, I would definitely prefer if they had this and a mega dungeon. In fact, I kind of wish this came out in our 0.5 patch currently, or 0.7 patch. Like, I think that'd be great.
Adding a Mythic Plus dungeon mid-season?
Yeah, I think that'd be awesome.
Just throwing the extra points in there? Yeah.
Yeah, and then just like carry it over to the next season too. Like, why not? That'd be fine. But I do feel like we are getting to that point in the patch where retail is starting to get a little boring or dead, and something like this would be sick to just have right now.
You and I were talking about this before Max joined, of like, there's not, you know, what is there to do over the next couple of months, right? The answers are like, well, you could be playing an MDI or TGP or whatever, or like push title or something, or like level a new alt or things like that. But for me, it's like we're entering the other games period of the cycle,
which is just amazing.
It's fine.
Usual.
Yeah,
and that's usual. That's the best. And also just a quick, if I can recruit any WoW players out there that are the typical WoW player where they play WoW all the time and they don't play any other games, guys, you are missing out. There's so many incredible games out there, and it makes your WoW season so much better when you play WoW when it owns, and then you just pay attention to what's happening in WoW. Maybe like you should still watch all of our streams and listen to the podcast, of course, for the whole season. But
of course,
but for your own entertainment, there are just an insane amount of good games, and there's no happier person I know that plays WoW that is okay with logging off of it and then knowing they'll log back in again in the future. That's it. That's my whole pitch.
So from my experience, it's hard to stay in the loop when you leave a World of Warcraft loop. At least I know that's like true for a lot of my friends who are WoW tourists. They came back to the expansion, and a lot of them have kind of basically quit at this point. Like, I don't want to say fully quit, because, you know, they're just like occasionally logging in, maybe doing a weekly, but the interest has definitely faded big time. And I see this across the board. Like I see this in my streams. People are talking about it. I see this from my friend of friend groups. Like, I know my friend of friend group, they started playing the game and they had like an entire 20-man plus players doing just like, you know, heroic raid and some like pretty easy keys. And I feel like the interest has definitely gone down. But it would be nice right now if we actually had content that was like appealing to us. And I know we talked about this an episode or two ago.
Can they do that though? Like, I feel like 11.0.5 and 11.0.7, or just any of the 0.5.7 things, I think that's exactly why they exist. That's why the trading post exists. That's why things like Plunderstorm existed. That's why the remixing existed, was purely for this exact reason. But you're saying, I wish they did that stuff, but it was just more interesting to players like me, I guess? Or just...
Yeah, but like, it's not even... Yeah, because like I think like even amongst the casual group, there's a lot of players who aren't very interested in just a new island and some stuff you have to collect. Because I do think there are a lot of more casual players who are like very interested in the endgame content that this game has to offer. I'm thinking people like remember in the beginning of Dragonflight, all those guys who were playing like your guild that you were raiding with Max, or not Max, with Shroud Max. There's all those guys, right?
Yeah. The I forget the name. Busy with your dad. There we go.
Yeah. I'm talking about like, you know, those types of players.
Yeah, I mean, I think those types of players played in the War Within for about as long as they did in Dragonflight, which was like a month or two, and then they stopped. I feel like this happens literally every season, and it's usually at the beginning of the expansion where they'll hold you for longer. Yeah. And then usually, I don't know. It's just there's just a lot of WoW tourists. The expansion is hype, and they play for a bit, and then they go off. And Blizzard's entire like bit for maybe they've done it wrong, whatever, but their focus as a company has actually been release more content mid-season to keep people engaged. But maybe they've missed on that. But that's kind of what that's what they're entirely trying to do.
Yeah, I guess it's just a question of like, does the Siren Isle or the Forbidden Reach or whatever draw back the kinds of players who are the ones who stop mid-season? Or
The people that I play with, no.
yeah, because I would say also for me, I think the people I play with mostly no, but for me personally, kind of yes. Like,
It's the
I will log in a bit more the first few weeks of 11.07 than the weeks before it, probably, because I want to do all the new stuff, even if it's not really like end gamey.
It's the great question, right? It's the, do we know or have a good sample of the majority of the player base? Like, we're saying, does our friends, people that we normally play with, like, are they logging back in for this? We're all saying no, but we have no idea how much that relates to the mass amount of people that Blizzard are looking to. We just don't have great outreach there.
Yeah. The way I see it is, I think most of these types of content are for the long-term WoW players. Because, the long-term WoW players will always want to do this type of stuff.
Well, can you guys let us know in the comments if that's any of your all's things? Like if I go to the comments this week, it would actually really help us to see any anti-bench stuff. That's number one, just before anything relevant. That's great. And then you guys talking about just like if that's what keeps you guys logging in. Last expansion, 2 expansions ago, I played for a couple months and I stopped. But now that they have these islands and the new Onyx Amulet and the trading post and all that stuff, like that actually keeps me logged in, and I'm the person they're making this for, and I think I represent a large group of people. That would actually be interesting to me to hear
are
some
you guys
anecdotes like that.
For the 0.5 and 0.7 patches?
Yep.
Speaking of things to be hyped for in the 0.5 and 0.7 patches, 11.1.5, Horrific Visions Revisited.
W.
Yeah, I saw Max tweeting about that. So, do we know exactly what's happening?
No.
No? Okay.
I mean, what they said, well, okay, I'll just deduce, I'll try to understand. They said Horrific Visions Revisited, which I assume means we're going to be bringing back Horrific Visions, but maybe tuning it up a little bit and making it better. Like, if I remember anything about Horrific Visions that was bad, it was its entire relation to the corruption system and the fact that, similar to TORGHAST, a maybe potential negative of it is you had to do it to continue to keep progressing your cloak. Well, guess what? That's not here anymore. You have this constant ticking power for 3 expansions in a row. That whole thing is gone, right? So if you're bringing back Horrific Visions and focusing it just around the gameplay, I think Horrific Visions were insanely good. Like, they were so fun. I think it's one of the better things they've ever added, actually, in that regard.
Also, I agree with you, but would you do it if there's no rewards behind it at all? Like, what are we expecting from these visions?
I would do it.
Corruption.
Yeah,
if they have a good like progression, like if you still had to progress to be able to then do it the next week faster or like for longer and stuff, and then
like a little renown track,
the 5 mask run.
Maybe like a little renown track, and you can progress. I'm just making this up, but like progress it by doing visions. And you need to keep like progressively doing more visions to get more rewards, or it helps you get those rewards faster by going at higher levels or something like that. But you are right. Like if they just release, in an MMO, you need something that's really cool to do and a really good reason to do it, right?
Yeah.
And that, I don't know what the reason to do it would be because the corruption thing is gone. Now, that being said, the alternate reality here where they do actually just fucking fully rip corruption for the back half of that patch would be insane.
That would be awesome.
It would be so.
That would be crazy.
There's a lot.
Then
of people,
it would just go away in 11.2. That would feel weird.
There's a lot of people that listen to this podcast that hopefully know that like the end. If you played the corruption patch long enough to actually get the corruption you wanted, like after they gave you the vendor and they made it less bad, like that was just one of the best times, if not the best time in World of Warcraft ever. So like there is some need for that, but could you imagine that feeling, right? You're like blasting with Twilight Devastation coming out of you and everything, and then like the new patch hits and your character just stinks. Like that would be so horrible. Like I don't know. Actually, isn't that already going to kind of happen with the raid buff going away? Kind of a side note, but
yeah, I don't think you'll feel that much though, because that's just a flat number buff. It doesn't change anything about how your character feels.
And it's also only
a big
in
number
raid.
though.
I mean, it's only a raid, and I'm sure most people don't even notice it.
Yeah, we're used to like feeling weak in the next tier's raid after being strong in the previous tier's raid.
Yeah, it's just you're gonna get used to a single target number that's gonna go way down. But yeah.
Yes, but that number will quickly catch up because, like, even when this thing is fully stacked at 18% or whatever, you gain more than that much damage over the first couple of weeks of a new tier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying as an example. I don't
Yeah,
think
you're right
it's a
though.
big deal.
That might be a little bit of, but the set of players that look that much at their damage number are probably the same kind of set that would be best equipped to handle that shock.
My guess is horrific visions maybe are part of whatever nightfall is.
Yeah, see, that's the thing that was weird to me because it's in the same slot, the same patch with the thing that seems the most like what'll probably be another thing that's similar, right? Like, it's 11.1.5 literally has new content Nightfall, Horrific Visions Revisited, and Children's Week update. Like, new content Nightfall and Horrific Visions
Children's
Revisited.
Week update.
Yeah, I'm gonna
That's a
assume that's
banger.
not related.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, like it seems good. I guess so. Nightfall could just mean that Nightfall is like Xalatathi versions of Horrific Visions or something.
Okay.
Or like Nightfall is the open world version of it, and then there's also Horrific Visions of it or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I was thinking. I tried to come up with what nightfall could be, and I came up with nothing. It just there's nothing really to like. It seems like what this is taking the place of is the mega dungeon, as far as like time spent. Like I think that is directly replacing that, which means it could actually be a decently large undertaking. So I'm interested to see what that is, and I think it might be very different than anything else. Like I'm trying to think like what else could we look at. So it says new content. Where does it say new content on here? New content, Siren Isle, right? So it's like here's the new content for the patch. You have Siren Isle. Maybe it's something like a zone or like
Maybe it's like you remember assaults, like faction assaults and BFA and Legion assault. Maybe it's like
Dude, but
Xalatath
assaults
assault.
sucked. I didn't like assaults. Did you guys like assaults?
Not really.
I loved assaults as much as I loved Warfronts.
I like them
Absolutely
more
loved
than more friends.
We never talk about it, but like, holy, I completely forgot about how much the assaults sucked and having to do them bi-weekly.
Bro, Warfronts I think were maybe Blizzard's biggest miss in the last like 5 or 6 years, or something they spent a lot of time on.
Yeah.
Dude, that 100%
absolutely
should have been
stinked.
brought back and like done better.
You know what else should be brought back and done better? I don't know if the world is ready for this because it's kind of soon, but definitely
Dude, if it's
Torghast.
Yeah, I do it.
Yeah. Torghast, bro, Torghast could fucking own. It could own so
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah, I mean,
we already talked about why.
I think it could be, dude. I swear, Torghast as an alternate leveling option for people that don't want to quest on their next character or whatever would also go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's always weird though, because like with leveling, people will always want the fastest option, and if it's like not the fastest method, then it's kind of not appealing to do.
What came out in 10.1.7? You guys remember?
I want to say Dream Surges.
Yeah, something like that, or super, whatever the hell. I
No,
don't
yeah,
know
it was
what
Dream
called.
Surges. It was Dream Surges, right? Where it was like you different the druids would like hop around, would be in the different Dragon
I've
Isle
never done one.
zones, and you have to go stop the druids of the flame coming out of their little portal, or fly through that was where fly through green orbs started.
Okay.
You guys remember flying through the green
Yeah.
orbs to get your Whelpling's crests?
Yeah, I'm trying to look at it. I'm trying to compare how Dragonflight laid out, looking at these roadmaps versus this, and it seems almost identical. Where at least the 10.0.7 and 11.0.7 seems majorly more involved than the 10.1.7 and 11.1.7 counterpart. Like 11.1.7 just straight up says story and quests, new content, system updates, turbulent timeways. Seems like
Turbulent Timeways.
compare that to like 11.0.7 or what 10.0.7 used to be and what 10.1.7 was, which was nothing compared to the other ones. It seems like they have a habit now or like a system where they definitely dial back the mid patches or the mid-season patches as the expansion goes on, and they load it up more at the beginning, which I guess totally makes sense, right? You just have more players, right? If you were going to put effort anywhere, it would be at the beginning. So
We see that with the frequency of class balance and M plus balance as well.
Yeah, it's slowed down now.
Yeah.
what does turbulent timeways mean?
Turbulent Timeways is like 5 weeks in a row of time walking, and if you do all 5, you get a mount or something.
Did you know what that was, Dorky?
Nope, not at all.
It's coming back this time around as well. It's coming back in.
Yeah, I know.
in
That's why I
11.07.
asked you.
Yeah.
I saw it was on the thing.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by like like these are just content I don't
That's-
care about.
that's
like,
part of
dream
how
surges,
the,
I completely forgot what that was.
The expected 11.1 time is last time there was turbulent timeways. At the end of that, accurately predicted when the next patch would come out, and this time around, turbulent timeways ends on like February 25th or something. So that is the expected new patch
okay.
date, which would put it right. I think that's technically after winter, right? Like February 22nd.
I mean, if you just go by Dragonflight,
or is it March?
If you just go by Dragonflight times where they were pushing these out in 5 months, it would be out in like February, right?
Yeah.
So our assumption is that it'll be in. We don't know anything, but at this point,
Yeah.
our assumption is that it'll be in February.
I'm gonna be honest, that sounds like such a long time. This is just me.
It
feels
isn't.
like we've been in this
it
patch for a
isn't.
long
But
time.
like, you know what's crazy is that WoW patches, even as not that far back as like BFA and Legion, WoW patches were like 8 months. They were they were so long.
It was like 6 to 8, right? Was
Yeah, exactly, but
rate.
now
6 was fast.
It's fascinating because like we're sitting here in a 5-month patch, about halfway through it probably, and the feeling is like Dorki just said is like, man, doesn't it feel like that's gonna take forever? It's just crazy how your perspective changes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's give a mouse a cookie, right? Or
Yep.
something. Yeah, that's us. Little
Yeah,
mice.
you guys think
It's
you're gonna
definitely
do the
down,
horrific
though.
Vision thing?
What were you gonna say, Dorki?
Do you guys think you're gonna do the horrific vision thing?
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely. They absolutely slapped in. I will log in as someone who barely logs into this game. I will log in deliberately to do horrific visions for sure.
Hell yeah.
Same. I mean, I do. I liked them the first time as well. Again, they weren't perfect, but even if they were, like, I like them as they were, and I imagine they'll make them better than they were.
All right, so we as the PoddyC are fans of horrific visions, and famously last week we talked about player housing on our podcast, and then they announced it coming to the game. If there was anything else in the past in WoW that they could bring back, what would be on the top of your all's list?
You mean like what are we talking about specifically?
Could be anything. I'll give you a few examples. So
Anything?
these are two that are, for me, that are probably really low impact, not as important as horrific visions, but I think are really cool. So one is Brawlers Guild.
Hell yeah.
I just think Brawlers Guild fucking rocks, and it's really fun to do. And like just being in there and seeing people do it and watching them do the bosses and sitting there with your friends and just watching them get smoked by the first alligator guy, whatever his name was.
Bruce.
Yeah, Bruce. And I don't know, and watching people do the hard ones and complete it, and you're like, damn, that was good. Like, that was really hard. That, and then also, this is super minor, but like, do the withered training scenario from Suramar, but like blow it out and make it a little bit more invested, and I think that could be really cool. I had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think Mage Tower would be an obvious one, but
Yeah.
you have anything else?
Dude, smash Mage Tower and Brawlers Guild together where you just have like a class-based fight like Mage Tower, but you get to spectate other people doing it like Brawlers Guild. Oh, man.
Oh, that would be awesome.
That
Yeah,
would
that
go
would be
so
sick.
hard.
That would be so sick.
Yeah.
The lines would be kind of long, but like that would be
Yeah.
really, really cool. Dude,
And then you implement it into player housing where you can put it in your guild hall's basement.
with some Fight
know-
Club shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I want Titan Forging. That's what I want. Everyone's gonna be pissed about that one, but that'd be sick. Just give me a patch of Titan Forging.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually don't think it would be that bad with the current upgrade system to have like
Yeah.
a form of it.
Yeah,
in
of
fact,
course.
delves basically have warforging right now. Like you can, when you do a delve, you can get a map at the end of it, and then when you do your next delve, you get a 610 instead of a 603.
Yeah.
That's warforging pretty much. It's warforging with extra steps.
Yeah.
And it's like hero track instead of champion track. I don't know. I think that could.
What would be the version of Titan Forging you want with the current upgrade system, Dorki?
Just as long as you can't Titan Forge stuff too much, especially not stuff from like open world or like
So
LFR,
what
for
you
example.
could do a Mythic Plus dungeon and you could get the best item you want to drop, but it could also
just
Titan
make-
Forge to be on the
You
mythic
can
track.
only Titan Forge one track higher, basically. So like if you have like something champion, you can't just.
Dude,
get, like,
that
a
would be
track
so
that's really-
insane. Dude, the amount of mythic plus farming you would do before going into the raid would be absolutely absurd if you
that'd
could
be
get if you
sick.
could get mythic track gear
Yeah,
from dungeons.
you can have it like go up like one track or like what do you call the ones in between the tracks? One step, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can have it go from like one step up to.
I think that's an obvious one. I think that's what Dranos was talking about. With the current upgrade system, you could have literally every item in the game potentially drop one or two spots on the track higher, but not jumping a new
Right.
track. Jumping a new track would be a huge thing. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it would still be powerful, right? Like, it would still be a crest save. It would still matter, but it wouldn't matter much or long term.
It would
Yeah,
be
at the very
kind of
least,
cursed.
It would go up to like the maxed heroic track.
Early in the season, wouldn't it be
Yeah.
kind of hard to know when you actually want to spend your crest? Because at any point, you could just do something and save crest that way.
Yeah.
That would be kind of wild. But I mean, I guess that kind of already exists.
Yeah, I mean, so the infinitely farmable content is hero track anyways, which you also upgrade to. If the sources of 613 only ever warforged up to 619, that would be fine, because that's where rune crests stop being used, and if you're like a super min-maxer, you're done with rune crest pretty early on your main, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you could do M plus and get higher than 619 out of it from a warforge or titan forge, yeah, that would be.
I think you should go at least 626, like maximum.
Yeah.
Like it would have to be. That to get like.
Yeah,
really
you want
lucky.
like
You'd be
you're
oh,
looking
big
for the Titan Forge
bonus,
that's not.
jackpot.
You don't want just like a Warforge that's like, oh yeah, this is a little bit more. You want the like oh hell yeah, that's a big item.
Yeah, I mean before it
Yeah.
used to go all the way to 639, like the equivalent of right now. But
Yes.
I think at least 626 would be cool.
Yeah, and to be fair, when it used to work that way, like that was vanishingly rare, right? Like it was much.
Yeah.
You got a lot more 616s than you got 619s. You got a lot more 619s than you got 623s, right? It got increasingly unlikely each step.
It'd be like getting a sick ran Nick right now, or getting a
Yeah.
the Rationon cloak. If you get one of those, that's like a pretty big
Yeah.
track skip.
Yeah. Could be cool.
When did season 3 come out in Dragonflight? Like the month?
I
From here
think
to start?
November.
Yeah, November.
Or it was maybe late October for the season start and early November for the raid.
Dude, that is
November
crazy.
7th.
Like this expansion is like 3 or 4 months faster right now than like that typical track. I really wonder what it looks like. What would you guys think? Like not in 2026, in like February or March, we're in a new expansion. That'd be wild, right?
I'm cool with that. That'd be sick.
Well, that's actually interesting, Dorki, because I think them doing that is very similar to a talk we had a couple weeks ago where it was like, would you rather them push out more content and have it be less completed, or would you rather them take their time and come out with more completed products? And I think them pushing out expansions faster, like almost certainly falls along the like patches are maybe going to release and feel like 11.0.5 did, maybe. But like, again, the game's kind of fine from that now. It took a few weeks, but like, it like that you could see the argument on Blizzard's side to just kind of push the shit out, fix it as it's happening, but like you're just going through things faster. And I feel like you definitely had an aside to that. You were like, I would definitely like them to come up with more. Take more time
if
to
they
release
could
things.
polish it more, that'd be great.
Well, them coming out with a expansion really fast is like kind of the opposite of that thinking, right? Like I would the only argument, unless they've massively increased their workforce, is that it would come out less polished, right? Or we'd be getting less content some other place. Like that's just how that adds up. So I'd be interested to see how that went. Like, can you imagine an expansion releasing like 11.0.5 did? Like that would be insane, right? Like that level of broken on an expansion launch. Outside
I
of
mean,
like
we say that to say, but that might just happen. Because like before, we were like, oh, it's only season 4, so like it's expected to happen. But now it's happening in like an actual patch, and it won't be long until like it actually happens in an expansion launch.
if they keep going at this pace, yeah, I think so.
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, there is the argument as well that like it's more important from them for a PR perspective and from a like there's more eyes on the game at this time. So like if you had to pick a patch to be buggy versus one to not be, like you would make sure you'd spend more QA time or whatever on the flagship patches, right? And then you'd let the game be a little bit more broken in the mid patches. So that might still be what they're up to. I don't know.
Well, not to mention, weren't they going to release an expansion and they realized it wasn't ready and delayed it?
Yeah.
Didn't that?
Shadowlands.
Yeah,
but that was also in the context of like COVID.
It could have been because of COVID, but it also could have been they realized that they were about to release a product that wasn't ready, regardless of any reason why, and then they just were like, we needed more time, and they pleaded with the salespeople, the evil sales overlords, and told them they had to delay their precious release, unfortunately. Yeah.
Well, what if they gave us more Brutosaurs and in return we get faster and more polished patches?
Yeah, dude, sell us a Brutosaur every month, but instead of having that just go into some executive's paycheck, just hire an infinite amount more people. That would be amazing.
Exactly.
Good trade.
Is there anything else about this roadmap that's somewhat interesting? I don't think so. I think we pretty much.
I'll pull it back up. Yeah, hang on. Yeah. Whoop. There you go. So there's this rune between autumn and winter of next year, in addition to winter getting all greeny.
Oh, I never noticed that either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the rune?
Makes for sure.
I don't know. It looks kind of like Diablo 2 runes. I don't know.
Someone in the comments maybe will know if that's like something they've seen before.
That could be a player housing Hearthstone.
No, because they already announced that, and it seems like it's the same kind of vibe, because you can see the little Plunderstorm icon there, which when I saw that, the first thing I thought of is how mad that ended up making people by not clarifying what it was, and then they finally saw it, and they were like, this wasn't for me, I've been fucking lied to. And like, I wonder if the rune will be like that, and if just it'll follow along the trend.
Yeah, speaking of remix, what do you guys think about the whole Classic announcement? Did you guys see all that?
I was watching, so I heard them talk about Classic, but I will say I personally do not feel any compelled to do Classic or TBC Classic.
What about Mop Classic?
Mop Classic is somewhat interesting to me, but even then I don't think I'm not interested.
Yeah, I'm someone who could never play Classic at all. My Kata was when I really started to like the game, and I thought that was going to be the one, you know? Like, this is going to come around, and I'm going to be so ready to play Kata again. That didn't happen. And then Mop is when I, like, fully was, like... If you've ever been fully degenerately addicted to WoW and know what that feels like, that's when that happened to me in WoW, was in Mop. And also I've held these beliefs for such a long time where it's like, it was the best class design that the game's ever had. I've said that a bunch of times. I want to hold that until I go back time. It's been 10 years, you know, it's probably not. I miss snapshotting, and Tank Vengeance was sick, but I could definitely see a world where like we go back and actually are good at the game, and that is so abusable that it's insane. And I don't know. Like, I think challenge modes is something that excites a lot of people in Classic, but I also think people are so much better at dungeons now that even your average player is going to absolutely smoke challenge modes at the beginning of the expansion. They are so easy compared to anything you're used to doing now, that will be just and that'll kind of take away a bit from the expansion, I think. But classic. So like what they announced that they're going to just kind of, and it kind of felt like they were going to do this, like these reoccurring classic seasons where it's going to go like Classic to TBC and Wrath, and it's going to be on a shorter time frame, I think, than the original.
There's a simultaneous, like there's hardcore also from the start as a server type. So there's like Only Fangs, a big guild of like a lot of content creators and stuff that's going to be, you know, playing on the hardcore servers and stuff with some special add-on or something for them and things.
Proximity
so
voice chat.
Yeah,
cool.
like it's kind of a cool. There are some things that are kind of cool that are being done this time around, but
yeah, it seems like it's being, the content creators are making that.
Yeah,
I think hardcore, as far as like a lot of people playing it in the community, it seems like that had run its course. Like it was a thing that people did and it was cool, and then it kind of was like people had been there and done that for anyone who was going to do it. But it is cool seeing content creators try to like keep it going. That's also something that I'm just completely uninterested in. I've had so many people ask me too. People come to my channel, they're like, "Oh my god, are you doing the OnlyFans guild?" So people definitely care. Like they're gonna watch. Like they're super
people are
invested
super
in
hyped
it.
for it.
Yeah.
I'm actually doing it too.
You're doing it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I signed up yesterday. I mean, I figured I might as well give it a try because like there's nothing happening in retail right now. Retail's like giga boring. But,
Oh,
That's fair.
Yeah,
Figured
yeah,
might
that
as
makes
well.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah, give it a shot. Yeah, another interesting thing too is they're banning GDKP from these fresh servers. That's gonna be interesting.
You figured they were going to do that ever since Season of Discovery. It does completely destroy the economy with them being that popular, and also the amount of gold buying and selling that occurs from those is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
So it makes sense, but also there's a lot of people who love doing that because it was a great way to make gold and then in turn money if there's WoW tokens. So I understand it. Those people are always going to be mad at that.
Yeah, I want to try MOP myself because I haven't played MOP, and I know literally everybody talks about how it was like the greatest expansion ever. And like I know Max, you've talked about it a lot. One of the best.
It was the designs. I would argue it was the greatest expansion ever for its time. That is an argument I would feel comfortable arguing. I would be really scared if anyone confidently is like MOP was a better game than current retail WoW is, because I
still hear that.
That's extremely likely that is not true. But it was
I still hear that.
Yeah, that's some rose-tinted glasses in my opinion. I think maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe I'll go back and play MOP Classic, and you're really like, God damn it, I was right, and it was the best expansion ever. This is so much better than retail. But the reality is, like 10 years of game design, there's almost no fucking way that's true if you remove nostalgia. So, I hope it is, but I doubt it is. Man, some of those raids are incredible though, and I'm actually interested in how difficult a raid like Heroic Throne of Thunder and Heroic Siege of Orgrimmar will be in comparison to current Mythic, because something that's always true is like you do an expansion, like almost by default, the Mythic bosses in the expansion you're doing are harder than the ones from the last one and harder than the ones before that, just a little bit, because gamers get a lot better. And as we get closer and closer to like Legion and BFA and WoD and MOP, like that's when raiding really got hard. Like in Cataclysm, raiding was still like baby shit compared to what it is now. But like there was RAG was probably the first really jump in that raids getting hard direction. But man, I'm interested to see like how that feels. Like if you pull these bosses like Brood Twister 100 times right now, I would love to see what your guild does with like Heroic Dark Animus or
God.
So like, you know what I mean? Like I want to know actually like how those exact same players, like how difficult this stuff actually has progressed through the years. That's just super interesting to me.
Yeah, when I played Kata, I was not as, what's the word? It didn't live up to my expectations. I was expecting a little bit more out of Kata because it was.
What does that mean? Like it wasn't good enough or it wasn't hard enough?
I want to say both, because I want to say the game definitely felt very unpolished, obviously, because it felt very classic compared to what I'm used to, and class design was also just like not particularly great during Kata, but I guess that'll change a lot in MOP, and I am curious to see what it's like in MOP. I don't know if I'm gonna play though. I guess it depends on what's coming out at the time.
Are you? I mean, the thing is, this is crazy. I have infinite nostalgia for MOP, infinite, and I don't know if I'm gonna play it just because I don't know. It's just I don't have a community to do it. I don't have like a. I just don't know if I'll do it. It's weird. Like I thought I was gonna play
Liquid
Kata.
dudes playing, so
Yeah, that doesn't matter. I don't know. Like I would just. It's about whether I would have fun and wanting to play the game like on my own. Almost is what would make me want to do that with anyone else. When is MOP coming out, by the way?
I don't know.
I think it's early or mid next year or something, because Hour of Twilight is early next year in Kata.
Oh, I kind of want to play Dragon Soul, man. Dude, maybe I will come back for MOP. I'm getting dragged in. I loved Dragon Soul. Dragon Soul is one of the most underrated raids ever.
Yeah.
What about Firelands?
That's out right now.
Firelands is properly rated as a very, very good raid.
Okay.
I just have no like I did for classic and TBC classic, where it's just like, yeah, I'll log in and like, you know, just kind of re-see what it was like. But I don't know, these newer ones were just like, I played so much of them at different times, or like I've done already so much of the like grind stuff in those expansions, where it's just like I have no desire to do that. I have no desire to go do like bring a new character through, you know, mop dungeons or whatever again. I guess the raids would be kind of cool, but like I don't know, they were cool because we didn't know what was going on in them, right? Like, and now we know all of the things about them, right? It's just, and it's like you always have this thing in classic where it's like, are you trying to do it blind, or are you trying to do it with, you know, without remembering all the strats and stuff? When some people in your group do and some people in your group don't, and I don't know. That was at least my experience with TBC, with raiding a bit in TBC Classic. It was weird because like I could sort of remember the mechanics, but I didn't want to look them back up too much and look back up the strats too much. But then our group had some people that like very much did that, and some people who'd never seen it at all, and it was like really hard to have a good experience for everybody in that group.
I think
have a
there's
question for you
also.
guys.
Oh, go ahead. Ask your question.
When or what classic would you guys actually really want to play? Like, is there any classic where you guys like
None.
want to play?
Yeah, that's the
No,
thing. Like,
not even like Legion or anything.
No, I mean, I think Legion would be really surprising for a lot of people. I think Legion was so fucking amazing for its time, but a lot of that was that you were there and it was happening, and it was. But it's like,
right.
Again, I feel like Legion would just feel a lot like what current Classic does for a lot of people. Also, I have this theory that like the farther back you go from retail, there's this like organic feeling of like original WoW, and it's like so different from retail that it's like great in its own way. It's so much slower. But as you're going up the expansions, you actually get closer and closer to retail. And while I don't want to admit this because I want MoP to be the best thing ever because I have so much nostalgia for it, I think the closer you're going to get to retail, you're just playing worse retail, where Classic is its own thing. But like, it's possible that Legion Classic, outside of nostalgia, is just worse retail, and that usually, as soon as I log in, I feel that and log out.
Here's an example I'll give to you, Dorki. Are you ready for the next patch of retail content?
What do you mean by ready?
Like, would you like to... Are you feeling like 5 months or whatever is going to be a long time? Or like, would you like to play this patch for 10 months or 3 months? What's the right amount of months for you to play this patch, you think?
I mean, I'm ready to move on to the next patch, if that's what you're asking.
Oh, you just made his point.
Why are you going to want to play this same patch again in 5 years or whatever when it's Classic, even if it was a good patch, right? Like, I have the same feeling about Legion. Like, I played the patches in Legion. They were fun. They lasted well for their time, but like, I don't want to just go. If you offered me at the end of Legion and been like, hey, do you want to move on to BFA or do you want to stay here for another 3 months? I'd be like, I'm ready for BFA now. And I don't think there's maybe something about me where I just don't, the distance from the expansion really slowly builds back up. But like, oh yeah, it would be nice to go play 7.3 again. Like it was the point where in Classic where it's like, yeah, after I hadn't played vanilla or TBC for 15 years, I was ready to play a week or two of them again to kind of remember them. But like, there's no expansions past those where I have felt a desire to play them, because it's literally I played those patches enough when they were current. The fact that I just haven't played them in 5 or 10 years or whatever isn't enough to make me want to play them again. I want to play the new patch.
Yeah, for me, I think it's more about the classes that I would like to revisit, because like I don't find the classes that I'm playing right now to be at their peak design. Like, I would 100% rather play old Boomkin, like Legion Boomkin, or I would 100% rather play BFA Unholy DK. But I can't, right? Because like, I'm just like stuck with whatever I have right now, which is fine. You know, like I definitely love the game for what it is right now, but when it comes to certain classes, what?
Well, okay, you mentioned BFA Unholy DK. What about BFA Unholy DK? You're talking Season 2 Reaping, right?
Just like most of BFA, honestly, not just.
Well, what do you miss about that isn't in the game now? Because like I miss that too, but like current Festermite is way fucking better than what Festermite was there, and that was so dominant of a playstyle. Like, the only difference is how much damage you're doing. I feel like Unholy actually plays better than it did in BFA. There's less annoying buttons. Like, the actual gameplay of Unholy is kind of just better. It just doesn't do as much damage. Do you actually?
I mean, the damage is a part of it. I mean, I disagree, because like, so One is, I would say, uncapped AoE. That plays a huge part.
Oh, but that's not like a
I-
gameplay difference. That's just like a numbers thing.
No, it 100% is a gameplay difference because like it affects how your class functions, right? Because like Unholy Decay specifically relies on popping your wounds and stuff, right? Like me dropping a D&D and being only able to pop 8 bursting swords at a time is terrible. Like I fucking hate it. I would much prefer.
I just
if
don't
could,
consider that a gameplay. Like it is, but like
it is, but it also
as far as
isn't.
playing
I
the class,
get
it isn't. Yeah, I just meant like actual gameplay, but I that totally makes sense and is valid. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like it's like an entire package, right? Like damage is a part of the package because if I'm setting up all my wounds and I'm like ready to do my burst, I want that burst to burst. You know, like I want the damage to be there when I press my burst. Whereas like right now in Holy DK, yeah, the way it functions is similar, but it just feels a lot more maybe homogenized. Like it just feels like another class where, all right, you hit your buns and then they kind of just like do damage, but it doesn't like pop off.
There's
like,
nothing OP about it, and there was in BFA.
Yeah, like and it came at a detriment too, right? Like if you were playing Unholy DK back then, you were expected to do less smaller AoE and you were like expected to do less single target, but when it was your time to shine, like you shined hard, and I miss that part of a lot of classes big time.
Well, that's so interesting because
about...
that's literally what Blizzard is trying to do with making some classes 5 target and some classes 3 target and some classes uncapped, but some classes capped. Like that was actually what they were trying to do, right? With like you feel like you weren't as good on smaller AoE, but on bigger AoE you were there. Well, they wanted classes that felt like, oh, on bigger AoE I'm not there, but man, when you give me like 2 to 3 target cleave, I'm gonna smoke that uncapped AoE class or something like that. I don't think they did that well, by the way.
Yeah, I think they failed.
But that was the goal of that. Although I want to say that it is funny that if you were those things are not the same. If you're the class that gets to shine in uncapped AoE, but you don't happen to be great at like 3 or 4, there's not a class out there that just absolutely owns on 3 to 4 targets and is sitting there on uncapped AoE doing no damage, and they're like, this is fucking great. I have my thing that like doesn't happen nearly as much or do nearly as much damage. Yeah.
Single target kind of counts. Like people can be happy if they're a single target genius, right? But like, yeah, if you're a 3 target expert, you are so much sadder than the single target people or the 20 target people.
Well, the single target people are like, the single target has always been really balanced. What hasn't been balanced is people's ability to single target while in AoE spec. But like, if everyone's specking single target, it's actually historically and currently very well balanced. But yeah, the AoE spec thing throws a big wrench. That's still currently a big talent tree problem.
Yeah. But also I miss how resources function for Unholy DK, because like right now the class is still kind of a mess where you're hard overcapping your runic power many times, just because like you're much better off spending your GCDs on popping wounds or festering scythe instead of like actually pressing epidemic.
That's true. Epidemic used to be a better button to press, right?
Yeah,
I mean, like if
there
they
was
had
a
like
point
maybe
where
like in between, that'd be sick.
well, you definitely a good rhythm for Unholy would be you're pressing runes enough to not cap your runic power, and then you're spending runic power while you're waiting for your runes to come back. And a perfect or somewhat perfect version of that is great. Anytime you're going to cap on either of those things, it's going to feel terrible. It's actually what makes me always not play Unholy as soon as I want to log in. I think it was like sometime around Shadowlands, right? When you started, even if you had capped runic power, if you could put down a D&D, the best thing for you to do is to spam Scourge Strike just for the damage, right? And you wouldn't want to Epidemic.
That was mostly Dragonflight. It was mostly Dragonflight.
Was that Dragonflight? Yeah, but like whenever that happened, that was dog shit. Like that was
Yeah.
such a bad feeling. Like already being runic power capped and being like, the best thing for me to do right now is to press D&D and then spend only runes for 10 seconds.
Yeah,
Whatever
it's still like
happened
that.
for that to be like, yeah, that's so bad. Like that's objectively bad.
Yeah, that's kind of what I mean by like I just missed how some of these classes used to be. But if they can have like somewhat of a in between, if they can have like a modernized version of some of these older specs, I think that would be ideal.
What's an old spec you guys miss? What's an old spec you guys played and you're like, I fucking miss this shit?
Yeah, it's Vols for me and old Blood DK.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say Blood
Yeah,
DK.
I mean, yeah, Blood DK when it's at its peak, whenever your favorite time for Blood
Oh,
DK is, if
God.
you like tanking, oh boy, that was
So good.
Yeah, I don't like current Blood Decay.
How about Necrolord Prop Pally? You guys ever play any Necrolord
Okay,
Prop
that's
Pally?
a hot one. Yeah, I played that for a bit.
I played
That
it
was
during. I played it on Halandras progression. And it was so fun. I felt like I was a
what did
healer.
it get from Necro besides Fleshcraft?
You got Conqueror's Hammer, which you basically like. You could do like crazy Word of Glories, and you could be in range of the boss
Wait,
for
you
like
said
20
Paladin.
seconds. It was
Oh.
fine.
I was
Yeah.
thinking Warrior.
No. I'm thinking Necrolord Paladin at the end of
Oh.
the end of Shadowlands.
Oh, you did say warrior, but that doesn't matter.
Oh, my bad.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
okay.
okay.
What the hell? I
My
got
bad.
gaslit. That's crazy.
Necrolord Warrior was cool. The original version with Conqueror's Banner. You remember that? The pre-rework version.
Dorki, you said you played in Legion, right? But you weren't like, wait, no, was that when you first started going hard in the game? Were you healing or something like that? There was something you did. Are you muted? You may be muted.
Wait,
we're gone.
I had to open my windows. What were you saying?
Oh, I was gonna say in Legion, that's when you first started gaming, right? Like, but you weren't like playing in MDIs and shit yet, right?
Yeah, I was just like, playing the game kind of casually. Well, I mean, I was playing a lot, but I wasn't competitive minded, if that makes any sense.
Dude, I actually think he missed, like, in my opinion, like at least the most fun time I ever had playing Blood DK, not in a raid. It was the MDI at the end of Legion. You 4 DPS'd most things, and you had to live, and only Blood DKs could do it, and it was really hard, and you had to like basically perfectly play the dungeon, and you had the consumption ability, and you used that not for yourself, but you used that at certain times to keep your DPS alive. So like your ability to control the group was at an all-time high, and yourself, and that was by far the most fun I've ever had tanking.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was a crazy time. Like if you were doing, because you basically press consumption. It was like, okay, for 15 seconds my group can't die, and then it falls off, and it's like, okay, now they.
And you
can.
have to know when to press it, and you
Yeah.
have to figure that out as a group. That was so fun.
Yeah.
I have some oldies, so kind of PP old moment, but
It's gonna be some mob shit, isn't it?
I guess some of these playstyles existed in MOP, but like Windwalker Monk in High Mall, when you still had Storm, Earth, and Fire, but it was like something you placed on 2 other targets, so it was like a 2 to 3 target cleave thing, and you actually didn't even use it in single target. Completely different button, long time ago, and you had another source of power, Tiger Eye Brew, and you would just like gain stacks of that and then use it as a damage thing, kind of like you would have very random, kind of similar to now where like monks just have cooldowns all the time or other classes don't, kind of similar to that. But also there's this PvP 2-piece you could equip for like 2 weeks until they disabled it, and you could roll to get a reduction on your Tiger Palm, or was Jab then, but now would be relatable to Tiger Palm. And it was like Momentum Demon Hunter, but a monk. You rolled for damage, and it was actually so fucking fun. It was like by far the most fun monk had ever been for me. I
Sounds
big
cool.
time missed that.
I would put Legion Aflock. You guys put like Wrath of Consumption, all that stuff in keys. So good. You'd just like be rolling a huge damage buff, and you'd have all these spirits floating around.
They were good in the MDI
bodies.
too. Or you play.
Yeah.
They were an
That class was
Arcway
broken
tech
as hell.
choice.
Oh, dude. 7.0 Arms Warrior. That was so fun. You would press Battle Cry, and it made all your stuff free. And you would mash Focus Rage and Hamstring, because those were both off the GCD, and they'd give you Tactician
What
procs,
the
and then
hell?
you'd do something else. So you'd either macro them into all your buttons, or you could do an item which is literally just mash. You were just mashing 3 buttons every glow. It was so fun.
Dude, I actually miss off of global damaging buttons. Do you guys like them?
I think
In
so. Okay, I really like playing Fire Mage right now, and it has off global thinking.
I mean, there's off global damage buttons for multiple classes in the game, but like being more
Wait, like who
prevalent.
else? All I know is Fire Mage.
Prop Warrior, Prop Paladin. I guess Prop Warriors is
What is Warriors?
not damage. It's defensive.
Yeah,
Prop
yeah,
Paladin
I'm talking
has
about damage.
Shield of the Righteous, right?
Yeah,
like a
Shield Righteous is pretty
rotational
good, yeah.
DPS ability, actually. I don't think there is a lot.
I think it's just Fire Mage, yeah.
Well, in the past, I don't think there was a ton either. like
Yeah.
there was that warrior one, right? Heroic strike.
That like modified their next auto, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
technically
remember
off
Maul used to
global.
be one.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
Focus-
yeah. Yo, Maul being off the global was way better than.
Yeah, Maul is fucking terrible. I hate that button. Why does it have to be
Yeah.
out of global?
That was definitely a bad decision. I'm not. I mean, another class that I would do too. Is some. It's pretty well known, but like, and you guys, if you are playing in MOP, want to experience this. If you miss snapshotting and you want to experience
Oh.
snapshotting at the highest level, playing Feral Druid at the end of that expansion was insane. You got like Rune of Reorigination, so you'd get all of your stats. This trinket would take all of your stats and it would remove all of them except for the top one and put all of your stats into your top one, and your top stat would be mastery, and that would all be your bleed damage. So you'd like lose all your haste and crit for 10 seconds. And then you would just it would all go into mastery, you'd put your dots up, and then you'd get all your stats back, and then you'd own. And it was just all about really clever gameplay, keeping that up and reacting to RPPM procs. And if you find snapshotting fun at all, that was just a dream. Also, Affliction Lock with Black Blood at the end of that expansion was really, really fun. Snapshotting as well. And in fact, I think that'll probably dominate MOP, because don't they release Classic with the last patch?
I think they mostly do, yeah.
So it won't be until Rune of Reorigination comes out for Feral to be good, in my opinion. But Warlocks will, I'm pretty sure, will be absolutely insane the whole expansion, and you can just have so much fun doing that if you're a Lock player.
That sounds pretty sick. Yeah, I played Feral for a bit in the very beginning of Legion, and that was actually pretty fun. They were like insane for single target too, from what I remember.
Yeah, you had the fangs of the daggers. Those
Yeah.
are cool.
I was actually gonna play Shadow Priest. I'm kind of sad I
Oh.
didn't play Shadow Priest, because people
Yeah,
always talk
Xalata.
about how sick it was with Surrender to Madness.
Oh, that was crazy. Yeah, that was a crazy version of it. It was one of those fun things where it was like it was a broken spec and it lined up against the tier so perfectly. Like, you could not design a better fight for Surrender to Madness than Xavius was.
No, yeah. Almost. I think that. Do you think they designed it for that purpose?
I think it was a happy little accident.
Really?
Yeah, I
Because
think so,
isn't that
too.
when they introduced Surrender? Like, you could make the same argument for, like, it's a bigger thing because they're introducing a class, but, like, Razageth was absolutely
I think
made.
that was designed for evokers, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe, yeah, just more, it's more a big thing to do a class
Yeah, I mean,
than a
it's-
talent.
I'm just guessing.
Yeah.
It could be.
No, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I would say I also miss multi-dotting. I think dotting in general was
Oh,
really fucking
yeah.
cool, and dot specs aren't dot specs anymore, and that's kind of lame.
Yeah, there's a reason, but it is lame, and I wish, I don't know, you'd say you'd wish it could go back, but there's no alternative to, if dots are good, anytime there's more than one target, dot specs are just the best class in the game, and that is how the game played for like 10 years. They were
Well, that's
just
only
always
if
the best.
it was spread cleave.
Correct. Anytime there was spread cleave, daughters were just better than everyone.
But that's kind of rare nowadays. Like, how often is there dot cleave? It's not,
happens
like,
in raid all the time.
Yeah, but I mean, outside of raid, not so much. And even then, like, even in raid, like, where is it? It's just Ansarek, as far as I know.
There's usually a boss or two every tier in which they would be dominant and better than everyone, and I think that's probably why they changed it. But yeah, I'd be down to change it back.
It would be pretty damn good on Silken. I guess the burst window wouldn't
Oh
work
my
out
dude, no.
super well, but it
If-
probably would.
If OG dot classes existed on Silken Court, they would smoke every DPS in the game. Like go back and think about bosses like Queen's Court, another similar court. They literally doubled everyone in the raid. Like
Yeah.
yeah, it's way too insane. Look at Zakul. Your one Shadow Priest you sent one Shadow Priest down to get that buff, and they just single dotted all of the ads and did like 5 times the damage of the second person or something. Like dots were insane.
Yeah, bring back dot specs.
Yeah, bring back funnel specs. Bring back
Oh.
BFA, Ellie Shaman, and Sub Rogue. Oh, wow.
Why
Yeah,
did
I
they
actually
nerf
would
funnel
love to
so
try.
much?
I think
Probably
similar
'cause
reasons
of
were just like,
Zool,
if it's
right?
ever good, it's insane, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think It'd be cool if like it was a strategy you could ever think of, but realistically, funnel's been nerfed so much that you don't actually really care. Like what you'll do is you'll not intentionally AoE irrelevant mobs, so anyone who kind of can funnel will.
Because there's a lot of specs that kind of funnel, right? But there's not any that go crazy on it.
Exactly. There's nothing relative to what it used to be. Funnel is dog shit. So
yeah,
like what you used to do was be like you would actually like tank the mobs away, so you could not hit them, and only that person could like Phantom Knives them or something. And you did that because it was so strong. And yeah,
that's kind of what I mean though when I say like I miss some of the older class designs where it was more special, but now it's kind of just like all more homogenized, more samey.
Every class has got to be good at everything. That is the feedback kind of that they've gotten from the community. Anytime a class isn't good at something, they have to change it over the years, so it becomes more homogenized. It's sad, but
yeah,
and yet
it is what it is.
High M plus still it's not, or not even high M plus, but like M plus writ large. There's still like specs that are twice as good as other specs.
Yep.
Yeah, fucking
It's a
enhancement
tough job.
shaman right now.
Yeah,
That class is ridiculous.
yeah.
enhancement.
And it's
Shaman,
ridiculous in raid too. Like how is enhancement shaman getting away with it, actually? Let's talk about that for a second, because I swear they've been OP for multiple expansions now. Since Shadowlands, I want to say.
Yeah. There's just not a lot of people know how to play it well.
Yeah, nobody talks about
Correct.
it either.
Yeah.
It is very hard. It is and it is very, very good. And it's been that way for right now. I think it's a bit better now than it's been.
Yes.
I don't think it's safe to say they've been like this for 3 years. I'm pretty sure they haven't been the #1 Mythic Plus spec by this much.
I don't think it ever was in the past few years.
I
Yeah.
mean, you've slotted them
Definitely-
in raid like every patch.
That's
mostly
true.
because of a raid buff, though.
Yeah.
Which now they share with other people. But yeah, they've also, I want to say they haven't been this good in raid ever either. They've been really, really good before, but this is definitely like another level of being good. Their variance is insane too. If you ever look at like Warcraft logs, like look at a 99% or 100% log of Enhanced Shaman, it is absolutely stupid.
Dude, that shit's the worst, because we'd be doing M plus and there'd be times where it's like, why did his pack just vanish? And then you look down in meters. Oh, I guess the enhancement shaman just like procced.
They
and did
procced.
literally double. Because there'd be times where like the shaman would be like, all right, I have no cooldowns here, and they would do literally like over 10 mil DPS. And it's like, oh, what is this? I'm sending my breath and all my big damage here, and I'm doing less damage than an enhancement shaman that has 0 CDs. Like, how's that fucking okay? To be fair, it's been worse in the past. If you guys remember Dance of Chi-Ji, Windwalker, back in Season 2 Shadowlands,
that was insane.
Was bad. Like, that would, like, completely... I remember doing MDI that time, and it would completely throw off time.
Dude. Oh my god. Nexus Princess Skyveza going from 99th percentile to max percentile jumps over 100k DPS.
That's good.
That is insane.
Yeah, because there's like multiple different high rolls you can get.
Oh yeah, it's hot hands. It's rolling the right dogs at the right time.
Yeah,
a lot of stuff going on. Oh yeah, you can just get it all.
Speaking of MDI, I know you didn't watch MDI Max, but well, I didn't really watch it either. Honestly, I watched it for like a day or two.
I watched. That is not true that I did not watch it.
Oh, okay.
I turned my stream on, and it was Game 5 of the Grand Finals, and I watched that
was
game,
crazy,
and it was sick.
Yeah, it was actually. I'm surprised by the lower end. Well, not maybe not the lesser known teams. Like, I was expecting it to be mostly a sweep in both cups. First cup, it kind of was, but second cup, some of these teams were doing surprisingly good.
Woohoo!
I'm actually
fucking hyped for the finals.
Global finals.
When are the finals?
A week from now.
Yeah, next weekend, not this weekend.
That's gonna be fucking crazy.
All right, you guys want to maneuver over to the old Patreon question, perchance?
Yeah.
All right.
All right. This week's comes in from Snuddy, and it says, "Hi, Podmen. Love you guys. Love you too. I was wondering how you deal with players you like but don't like playing with. I started playing WoW in Dragonflight, and I'm the healing lead for my guild, which has been struggling in both players and goals. Going from a guild that struggled to get AOTC in Vault of the Incarnates to struggling for Cutting Edge, 6 out of 9 in Murdersill. With trying to get a consistent roster of 20 players on the same goal, possibly the hardest boss of them all, we've come across a few who want the same goal but don't really have the same skill or time invested. You definitely don't want someone who'd significantly slow down your progress or be a problem for your guild, but also you ideally have some players around on the bench that you could sub in later when unforeseen problems arise. I'm the youngest player in my guild, don't have much experience in communication or management, so I usually let the other officers handle it, but I don't always think they handle it in the best way possible.
Holy shit, I swear I've heard this story.
Yeah, this is a very similar question
We've
with
had
like some
this.
similar details. I wonder if the same person submitted it twice and then with like a slightly different wording, and then
Well-
FRONK listed like they're like a month apart, and then FRONK included both in our Patreon questions.
So I'm pretty sure it wasn't a Patreon question. It was like a drama time story
You're right.
or something.
I think you're right. Yeah. So
Yeah,
It's a common. I mean, if it was a drama time thing, then we could just be giving the same insight on the Reggie podcast for free. That's insane.
That's crazy.
That's tough, man. Playing with people you like but don't like playing with. That's actually such a strange thing. Like someone that you like in general would probably possess a lot of qualities that would make it fun to play games with them.
Well, that's not
Right?
necessarily true.
I assume they mean like don't like playing with because their skill or
They
time
suck.
commitment isn't up, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't think it's like I don't like playing with this person as a person. It's like, oh, I want my guild to kill this boss. If 2 weeks earlier.
Dude,
than it
we
did.
literally had this exact question. We should double check here that
we've definitely had this question.
Can we go back down the episode links here in
Oh
the
my God.
wow, the archives is not
Yeah.
They-
Let's see.
it is not ordered at all, but
Oh, yeah. I found it.
where is it?
Episode 44 links.
Episode 44 links.
Bro, no way. We just fucking...
It's just a
Use the
straight up
same
the same
question.
one.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So, I mean, it's worded differently, but yeah. I'll
Is it from the
copy-paste
same person?
Yeah. Oh.
It is. Dude, you're right. You were
There.
so right.
Holy
That is
moly.
good.
All right, do we have
Frog.
do we
I
have
got
any
deja vu, crazy
do we
deja vu.
have any other insight into this at all other than
FRONK, you can't be. Oh my god, this is tough. What are you doing?
Oh, we're
buddy?
leaving this in. We're leaving this in.
Oh no.
Yeah,
He
you're not
is
editing
not
this one
editing
out.
this out.
Oh,
He gave
this
us
is
the
gonna
same
be-
question twice.
Maybe he thought it was one of the episodes where I didn't hit start recording or something.
Man, my memory
Ooh.
goes way too
I'm gonna
hard.
hit him with a buddy.
Wait, I'll ping him in the episode 44 links channel. At FRONK. Bad news, idiot.
Yep, you can't be doing this. Is your job.
Oh no. Okay. Do we have any new insight or anything else, or do we want to just make up a different question?
Let's make up a different question. What is
Yeah, let's make
something
one up.
what is something that our patrons would ask us?
Yeah. Let's see.
How about if you could have your player house in any zone, what zone would it be?
So basically, what are your favorite zones?
It's related, yeah.
I guess you could have an awesome favorite zone and not want to have your house there. There's places
Yeah.
you'd want to visit but not want to live. I see that. Okay.
Right, like France.
So the overwhelming choice would be. That is a good bit. Have I told you my France thing? I think I have.
I don't think so.
I have had such bad experiences in France. The people are the most off-putting they could possibly be. But we'll just move on and go to this thing. I think I want my house in Hallowfall.
Okay. Good answer.
Wait, where would your fucking house go?
Well, it's just like, one of those areas.
Yeah, there's like
close
farms and
to-
stuff.
Yeah, or close to like the town.
In Merildar. Little house in Merildar.
Max has no idea what the hell a Merodar
That's
is.
the city.
Nah, I've never heard of it.
Hmm.
Dorki, what about you? Where's your house?
I don't know.
All right, well, I have another question for you, if you care.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, actually, it's kind of a tangent. It's a tangent. You should definitely tell us your house location first.
I'm posting up in Suramar.
Ooh.
Ooh, okay, very fancy.
Yeah.
Dorky, pick
I
a
would
place now.
Probably pick. somewhere in the Outlands.
What?
I would definitely want like if there's like an urban option, I'd love Suramar City or Borealis City. Those cities are cool. Where in Outlands? Like Hellfire Peninsula, you'd look up at the sky with the Hellfire skybox.
What about the spiky place?
Blades Edge Mountains. Dude, that has got to be the goofiest zone they've ever made. The spikes look so goofy.
That'd be the worst.
What about the purple Netherstorm?
Netherstorm, yeah.
Nah.
You
Or
just
maybe
don't
even
know.
like Ardenweald. Ardenweald would be.
Ardenweald's a good zone.
Ardenweald is a great zone. I don't know if I'd want. I was gonna say Ardenweald, but I want to visit there, but wouldn't want to live there. I don't know what that means though.
It's a very fantasy place.
France tier.
Yeah, France tier. My random tangent was gonna be. Did you guys know like up until like I think it was like 1,000 years ago or 2,000 years, like basically I think it was like in the medieval ages, like 90% of people were like small farmers, like small time farmers. And so would you guys be successful as a small time farmer, family farmer? And if so, what crop would be your crop of choice?
I would have needed to have lived a very different 30 years up to this point.
Yeah, like right now, if someone was just like, all right, you can have anything you want in the world, but you have to be a successful farmer for the next 5 years, I would have
I think I would own.
Well, you would own?
Yeah, I think I would own. The more I think about it, because I would like you're basically just like doing the same shit. You're grinding every day, and I'm good at that. I think
You grind every day?
I'm just good at doing the exact same monotonous thing over and over and over.
Yeah, but what happens when
I'm a
like
farmer.
a wave of disease takes over some of your crops? Like
Then I'm fucking dead.
you just die.
But-
It's fucking
Yeah,
I mean, but
that
hey,
was their answer,
yeah,
right?
Nature
Like,
takes its course.
oh, it's the plague. All right,
All right, see
go
you later.
next.
time to
Yep.
die.
I'll get a time to die. Fucking dead.
Also,
Yeah.
I actually learned some fake ass news. Like apparently, like people hear the average lifespan for a lot of those years is like very low, and they assume that people were just like perfectly healthy adults dying at the age of 30. But the reason that the life expectancy is so low is because the infant mortality rate was insanely high. Like I want to get like accurate numbers, but something like the reason people had like 6, 7, 8 kids was because it was just normal for them to have a kid that died, right? So
Yeah,
they just wanted
multiple.
kids. It was like a very high mortality rate. So that's the only
Yeah.
reason those numbers are so low. Anyways, just a little fact from the old ages.
Isn't it kind of just expected that you would just like die or just random shit all the time?
Well, yeah, you could get.
It's just not as much as the life expectancy number would make you think. Like, if you made it to 10 or something, you were a favorite to make it to 50, I think, or 40.
Yeah, you'd be up there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you
Also,
could
like,
also just
people
get a
were
cold and
used to
die.
death.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Or consumption.
I think it's also like people were not as afraid of death. Like it was just kind of
Yeah, it was
daily
part of their life.
occurrence.
I mean,
Yeah,
right
like,
now,
like, people
if
just
you had a
live
baby
and
that
die.
died, right now, that would be fucking tragic, right?
Yeah.
You have fully like devoted some time to this person, but back then you did not even become attached to your kids. Sometimes they actually had practices where like they wouldn't become attached to their kids because they knew a certain amount of them were going to die, and like they even had like a ceremony at some point where they like got to a certain age and it was kind of statistically likely they were going to be alive, and they're like, oh yeah, we can connect with our kid now because he's not a dead one. Fucking crazy. But like back then, if you had your kid die, you and everyone else you've known has had that happen before, so it's naturally like you've dealt with it, right?
Yeah. Or you might have like friends that would just like fucking die, and you'd be like, oh shit, Timmy died the other day, and it's like, oh well, I mean,
Maybe he got a cold. He just instantly died. Dude, Frank, when he listens to this, do not tell him what we ended up talking about. and just let him get to this point of the podcast. Just be like, don't worry, we figured out a good.
Yeah.
Oh, Dorki already did it. Dorki baited him.
okay.
Oh no, you said now give us a question. Be like, we found one. Don't worry. It's very insightful and about World of Warcraft.
Yeah, I made it up.
Let's
I mean, we could also do a bonus question too, right?
We could. What is the Whoa, is it okay? Is it good or is it like fucking? Should they remove raid buffs from the game or some dumbass shit?
We could do it in the bonus episode as well. We could
Ooh,
slam it in
okay.
there.
Yeah, okay. We already talked about the medieval ages here. I feel like that.
Yeah.
That
Would be our normal bonus episode type content, would be
Yeah.
those sorts of ramblings.
all right.
We could
fuck
do a little
yeah.
swapperoo.
Let's do it.
All right. We'll see you guys in the bonus episode.
And also, over 100,000 of you watch our episodes, and only 30% of you are subscribed or something like that.
Yeah.
So
Frank
if you're
told us
listening to
say
this, subscribe or blow up. There's 2 options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Frank told us
Alright.
to say this. He told us to say subscribe on YouTube.
We'll see you next week or in the bonus episode if you're cool.
Goodbye.
Poddy bye.